Hi friends, welcome back to Ohio Tropics, and in this video I'm going to show you how to pot up your amaryllis bulb in less than 7 minutes. I'll give you some brief tips on choosing a bulb, show you exactly how to pot one up, and stick around till the end because I'll also give you more tips on what to do after blooming to ensure that your plant blooms year after year.
Take a look at this gorgeous specimen that I grew years ago. This started out as one bulb, and over time it grew into a cluster of 4 bulbs. And in the same pot there were 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 flower stalks. And each of the flower stalks produced 4 to 6 flowers, so it was quite a show.
So if you're in the northern hemisphere, you should have amaryllis bulbs available right now. I know that you may also want to time it so that it blooms around the end of December or so. And if that's your goal, aim the plant about 6 to 12 weeks before you want them to be in bloom. You can even plant 2 different ones and plant them a couple weeks apart and make note of when you planted them and when they bloomed. Here are some quick tips on choosing a bulb, and we'll get into planting it right after that.
There are some bulbs that are waxed, and these will bloom without potting them up and without water. But if you want to keep them year after year, avoid buying these, although many people peel off the wax and pot them up. But if you want to keep them long term, I recommend buying the biggest unwaxed bulb that you can find. Make sure that the bulb is nice and firm and buy the biggest one that you can find.
Now let's talk about pot type. I highly recommend using a heavier pot. I would advise you against using very light plastic pots, and the reason is when these plants bloom they can get very top heavy and they can be easy to knock over. In this case I have a terracotta pot. It's about 8.5 inches in diameter and about 6 inches tall. You don't need to have a pot that goes too deep. It's important that you pick the proper size for your bulb, and when you plant your bulb you'll want to bury it about halfway. So you want to keep the top third to a half above the soil line. I'll show you that in a second. What I like to do is place it right in the middle, and then you don't want any more than about 2 inches from the edge of the bulb to the edge of the pot. Here we go. I'm going to place this right in the middle of the pot, and then you can see it's about 2 inches or so to the edge of the pot all the way around. It's okay to go a little bit less, but I wouldn't go any more than that. Time to pot our bulb up. In this pot I use Fox Farm Ocean Forest potting soil. It has plenty of perlite and a lot of nutrition, so you won't really have to fertilize for at least a few months or so, which is great. And now I'm going to test the level of my bulb here, and it's just about right. Like I mentioned, you want your neck and the shoulder of the bulb to be above the soil line, so don't bury it more than half. You can even bury it about 2/3, but not really more than that. So let's keep adding a little bit more soil, and then I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. Now this particular soil already has a good amount of perlite, so I just kept it as is. Now if you have a potting mix that you have at home that you like, but that isn't particularly well drained, I'd recommend adding a little bit of perlite or even a little bit of pumice to your potting mix. So 1 part perlite to about 2 to 3 parts of your potting mix. Mix it all up, and that should do the trick. And I left a little bit of room from the rim of the pot so that when I water, there's a water reservoir and I'm not making a mess when I'm watering. After you're done potting it up, give it a good watering. What I like to do is just wait until the top inch or so is dry and then give it a nice thorough watering, and keep repeating that. Now, when you put your plant in front of your window, the flower stalk will start to grow and lean towards the window. So I recommend periodically turning your pot 180 degrees in order to keep the flower stalk straight. So simply turn it like this, maybe every week or so, and then the flower stalk will straighten out over time. As far as light goes, give your amaryllis the sunniest window that you can. Place it immediately in front of the window. These plants need a lot of sun so that the leaves can ripen and provide food for your bulb, so that they can bloom again and again, year after year for you. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that people don't know what to do with their plants after their amaryllis is done blooming. And I've included a couple links to my blog posts in the description of this video So please read them. One of them shows a recap on how to plant your bulb, and then the other one tells you exactly what to do after your plant is done blooming. So right now, for example, it's November 9th where I am, and I just planted this bulb. This should bloom by sometime in December. And then after that, I'm going to keep the leaves growing all throughout the winter, all throughout the spring and summer and the fall. Then around mid-fall or so, what you want to do is hold back all water. Let the soil go completely dry. Let all the foliage turn yellow. And then at that point, you can simply cut it off. You can see where this bulb here, where everything was cut off here. So you want to cut it off right above the neck at this point. Cut off all the dead yellow foliage. And then you can store your plant in a cool, dry area and give it a rest period for maybe 4 weeks or so. Then at that time, simply bring it out of storage. You don't want to keep it too cold, but it definitely needs to be above freezing. So in the 40s or 50s Fahrenheit or so would be perfect in a dark area. And then after a month in dormancy, you can pull your pot out of dormancy, start watering it again, and put it in front of a sunny window, and you should get another flower stalk year after year if you follow these tips. If you have any questions, please let me know below, and I'm happy to answer all of your questions. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel and share with a friend. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.